All right, what's going on, Black Speakers Network family? Good morning and good afternoon from wherever you're joining us from. Super excited that you're here. My name is Brian Oles, founder and president here at Black Speakers Network. I am, of course, joined with my incredible co-host, Miss Cier Black, in the building, Atlanta, Georgia. Stand up. And we are, of course, very excited to have our special guest host with us. Uh, I mean, Sierra, a lot of times we say, this person needs no introduction. We get that all the time. Like, this person needs no introduction. You absolutely don't. But just in case you were wondering, we have globally recognized leadership, wealth, and success expert, as well as research professor, five-time best-selling author, including my personal favorite, Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough is here. Dr. Kimbrough, thank you so much for joining us, and good morning or good afternoon.
Wow, Brian,
Welcome.
thank you very much. Cier, it's always great to be with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is going to be an exciting journey. Let me get my little banner up. Of course, we are talking about Speakers Magazine. Dr. Kimbrough is featured on the cover. This is the April 2022 issue, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that. For those of you that are new to BSN, or maybe this is your first time joining us, we do this every single month to get an opportunity to bring the Speakers Magazine issue to life. But the Speakers Magazine is the official magazine of Black Speakers Network, and of course, Pam Perry can't join us today, but Pam and Mark have been faithfully executing this mission for the last 4 years. Sierra's been absolutely crushing it. She is writing the cover story every single month and doing a great job. And so, super excited about this conversation. And just to dive right in, Dr. Kimbrough, first of all, you are a legend. Even when we posted the flyer and we were telling people that we were going to be speaking with you today, I think you have so much reverence and so much respect. And one of the things I just wanted to share with you personally is that I went to Morgan State University, which, of course, Earl G. Graves School of Business and Management. And I actually originally went to Morgan because I was supposed to be an engineering major. Sierra knows the
Yeah.
story. I got to Calculus 2, Dr. Kimbrough, and I was like, let me just go see what the School of Business is talking about, because this is getting a little challenging. But I was actually lost in like my junior year. I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought I was going to be an engineer, and I ended up in the School of Business, and we started a book club. And the very first book that we picked up and I read was Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice.
Wow.
And that book really helped to shape. I'd never read such a comprehensive guide to show, number one, a profile of success as possible, reading people like Spike Lee and Oprah Winfrey, but it also really helped us to start a dialogue on campus about, what could be accomplished. And just about and this was almost 20 years ago now, and almost every single person, Dr. Kimbrough, that was in that book club now is living out the vision that we talked about as a result of that. So I just want to say thank you for, just your decades of laying the foundation to create the path that so many people are walking on now.
Well, thank you very much, Brian, for those kind words. And you're exactly right. People want to know where you'll be in the future. Well, it's going to be determined on two things and two factors only. Number one, the books that you read, and number two, the folks that you associate with. But Brian, let me go back. Thank you very much for bringing those quant skills from the engineering program over to the School of Business. We love folks that do that. So your major will either probably be supply chain, data analytics, economics, or finance if you stay on the track. But we need Black engineers. Now, you brought it up, Brian. And why do we need Black engineers? Because we need businesses in emerging markets. And emerging markets are centered, just like Elon Musk says, everything works until it no longer works. Well, that's the heart of innovation. And I remember I go back to the interview that I had with Damon John, and I said, Damon, what are the two factors that you need to really carve out, a business or any type of existence? And he said, number one, you need creativity. And what in the world is creativity? Well, creativity is the ability to summon an idea. The average individual in our society gets 4 ideas a year, any one of which, if they had the guts, the courage, the fortitude to chase their dream, would make them financially independent. Now, I was in the shower this morning preparing for this interview, steeped up, excited. I was crunk and everything. But Brian and Cier, I got 50 million different ideas in that shower, man. So it's no big deal coming up with an idea, to go ahead and tap into the paradigm shift on that right mind, get an idea. But an idea doesn't mean a hill of beans, according to Damon John, Elon Musk, and I agree, if you don't have innovation. And what is innovation? Why you came over to the business school. It is the ability to execute that idea. So emerging markets is the key, and we need both of those factors.
Listen, I think that's the interview right there. I mean, do we have any other questions? I don't know. I think we could give you some time back on your Nah, that is, you're speaking the gospel there, and I know, Cier has some thoughts behind that. But yes, these are the titans of industry, and you've built kind of a career. I know you're a researcher, and part of research is asking not just questions, but asking the right questions, and asking the right questions of the right people. And so I always love how you're able to kind of distill the wisdom, both of contemporary industry titans of industry like Elon, and also going all the way back to your work with Napoleon Hill. So I'm super excited about this conversation. Cier?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're right. You have to ask the right questions to the right people. But he brought up, I want to really get into, and I know people hate me saying this, but I have the best job. I have the opportunity to sit before people such as Dr. Kimbrough and learn all about how he's become and what he's doing. It is easy for me to tell a story, but there's so much that's not covered. And I want to really get into the book, Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice, and the research. When you talk about the research, we're talking 7 years, a span of 7 years. Not even the fact as to how he was tapped in to even work on that project, but the people that he was able to talk to and talk about and get these lessons is what we need to hear even today. The book, was, written years ago, but that information is still valuable today. Dr. Kimbrough, I would like for you just to start off with how you got started with this project, why and how you end up, working with this project.
Well, I like to give credit before I even start to 2 people. Number 1, my wife, and number 2, my department chair at Northwestern. But Cier, you hit the proverbial nail on the head. Ask the right questions to the right people. Your data must be valid and your data must be reliable. And when I was at Northwestern, arguably the best advice I'd ever been given was from my department chair, who said, Dennis, don't look at your dissertation as, satisfying the requirement for your doctorate. Look at your dissertation as your first book. And I had studied wealth and dependency among underdeveloped countries, particularly sub-Saharan African countries. And I was granted the doctorate. And then I immediately turned to my wife and I said, Pat, I know my first book. And she says, what is it? And I said, well, you know how I studied wealth and poverty? She said, yeah, I don't want to study poverty. I only want to study wealth. And I don't want to study, nation states. I want to study individuals. So she asked me, she said, well, what do you need to do? I said, well, I need interviews with peak performing African-American wealth creators. She said, how long will it take you? And I said, hey, not a day past 18 months, a year and a half. Well, 7 years later, but let me tell you. So I pulled out a sheet of legal paper and I wrote 50 names on that piece of paper. And I just checked them off one by one as I interviewed them. Then I wrote another 50 and I checked them off as I interviewed them. After 150 interviews, and even today, I look back and I said, man, my God, what in the world were you thinking? Well, out of those more than 150 interviews, I got 3 books. I not only got Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice, but I got What Makes the Great Great, and I got a head start to my 5th book, The Wealth Choice. But Cier, to be more specific, all I wanted to do, I just want somebody to answer the question why one person succeeds while another fails, and why is one individual rich and wealthy while another is impoverished. So there I am, and you name the individual. I'm with Jesse Jackson. I said, Jesse, no flowery, nice quotes he's saying. Just give me the real deal to success, to leadership, to wealth. And he said, you may not be responsible for getting knocked down, but you're certainly responsible for getting back up. There I am with Janetta Cole, first Black female at Spelman College. And she said, show me somebody content with mediocrity, and I'll show you somebody destined to fail. There I am with Don King, the fight promoter. And I said, Mr. King, I said, Don, what was it like spending those 8 years in that Marion State Penitentiary because you were convicted of second-degree assault, and in that assault, somebody died? And he said, when I walked through those prison gates, I was determined to make this time serve me. I wasn't going to serve this time. So I could go on and on and on and on and on, but it came down to 4 factors, and anybody can use these factors for not only personal fulfillment in your life, but define your passion, define your value add, define your area of excellence. Number 1, they dream big dreams. They had a dream, a passion, something that they desperately wanted to accomplish in life, and nothing was going to stop them. Now, there is a big difference between a desire and a burning desire. I mean, the average individual has so many desires of things they want to do, places they want to go, maybe books they want to write, businesses they want to start, but it's not a burning desire. And what is a burning desire? A burning desire is an inner candle, an inner flame that cannot be extinguished. And though the worst may go before you, cynics will come, critics will come, doubters will come, naysayers will come. You will use their doubt. You will use the criticism and cynicism to propel you forward. So I had a big dream, and sure enough, the doubters came. Sure enough, individuals laughed. Sure enough, the cynics came. But nothing was going to stop me from finishing this book. Number 2, they were inner directed versus outer directed. Now, what the hell does that mean? That means that they were driven to the beat of their own drum. Like the old rapper said, well, it wasn't old, Too Short. He said, it's been way too long, time for the whole world to play your song. Well, Cier, whenever I walk into the classroom of Clark Atlanta in the School of Business, these 70 or 80 students in my class, well, they're going to sing my song for that hour and 15 minutes. Why? Because just like Bishop T.D. Jakes said to me, I said, Bishop, they said you weren't going to make it in the ministry. And he said, well, my critics and doubters were right. But I don't care if I had to spit. I don't care if I had to stutter. I don't care if I had to stammer. I had something to say, and I was going to say it. Well, the same applies to me. I have found my zone. I have found my value add, inner directed. And in the wealth choice, I said, it's no longer inner directed, it's to be certain in uncertain times. Did you hear me, Black America, white America, who is ever watching this? Be certain in uncertain times. You are driven by the mind and the paradigm, health set, soul set, heart set. You are driven by that particular paradigm, and you don't care about the confusion and nonsense going around you. And that's why people ask me the definition of wealth all the time. And I said, wealth has nothing to do with family. Wealth has nothing to do with networking. Wealth has nothing to do where you were born, on what side of the town, what side of the tracks. Wealth has nothing to do with your education. But wealth has only one thing to do about you managing the smallest word in the English language, which is be. That's Kimbro, what in the hell are you talking about? I'm saying be courageous while others wallow in fear. Be knowledgeable while others are trapped in ignorance. And then last but not least, be legendary while others have succumbed to mediocrity. So, be certain in uncertain times, but they were inner directed versus outer directed. Robert Frost with that old poem, 2 roads diverge in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by. Well, what in the world does that mean? That means that you are unique. You are unique. You are blessed to live in a country that rewards differentiation. One of the questions I always ask my students, man, if you were a box of Cracker Jacks, what would be the free prize inside? What is your value add? What is so different and unique about you? Number 3, they dedicated themselves to lifelong learning. And Cier, you heard me say this before. You don't go to school one period of your life. No, you're in school every day of your life. I was in school this morning. Why? It's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning after I have my prayer and devotions. You hear me out there in cyber world? prayer and devotion. I do the same thing Dr. King does. Dr. King lived in the moment. Dr. Kimbrough, what in the world are you talking about? What's the first thing Dr. King did when he got up in the morning? Went to his book line study. There were 200 books in his book line study, and he had an hour of prayer and devotion. What's the last thing Dr. King did before that 39-year-old head hit that pillow? He'd fall on his knees for more prayer and devotion. Wake up in the morning, prayer. Before he goes to bed, prayer. That is the moment. That is the moment. So, dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. And this journey that we called life is one big classroom. And what do I mean? It's a classroom unlike any other classroom that you've been in, because you're not only the student, you're the teacher. So teach yourself well. You go back to ancient Egypt and you look at all the artifacts there of the great pharaohs. And on the headdress is always a headband. And on that headband is what? It's the cobra. Now, why is the cobra on the headband? When people see the cobra, what is their inclination when they see the cobra? They run, they hide. The cobra is all powerful. The cobra is omnipotent. And don't take my word for it. Look at Moses. The Lord of heavenly hosts said, Moses, cast down thy rod. And he threw the rod down. As soon as he threw the rod down, it turned into a cobra. What did Moses do? He ran. Moses ran. And the Lord of heavenly hosts says, Moses, stand still. Go back and pick up the snake. And Moses came up with 50 million excuses. No, I can't. Moses, how dare you doubt me? Pick up that snake. And when he picked up that snake, what happened? Well, it turned back into the rod. So what is the case study? What is the lesson in that case study? When you face your greatest fears, it'll become your number one asset. Your number one asset. When you say this far, no further. This brick wall, I am going through. And the only way that you can do that, the starting point, is to take control of your mind. And that's why your great pharaohs had that cobra on the headband. Why? To get you to protect your mind. And it begins with lifelong education. Now, for the past 20 some odd years, I've been blessed to walk the same bricks of Black America's most prolific scholar, W.E.B. Du Bois. The 9 years he was at Atlanta University, he taught civics, he taught history. The man even taught Greek. He taught economics. And, students would walk into his class. There was no business school back then. Economics was a part of arts and sciences. And they would walk into his class thinking that Du Bois is going to, teach, net present value is finance, but supply and demand, velocity and the like. And Du Bois wouldn't do any of that. He'd pick up his Bible and for 1 hour read scripture. But the students would say, good morning, Dr. Du Bois, how are you? And what was Dr. Du Bois' response to his students? His response was, paideia, paideia, always paideia. Well, what in the world is paideia? Paideia is the Greek term for knowledge. Paideia is the Greek term for wisdom. It is the Greek term for inquisition. It is the Greek term for education. Dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. And then last but not least, these men and women flat out refuse to fail. I'm not saying they didn't fail. Many of them actually failed their way to success. And what do we know about success? Success is a statistical event. That's all it is. I tell my students, the only reason why I am Dr. Kimbrough, because I got more college hours than you have. And they look around and say, you better be. No. When you get the same number of college hours I have, you'll be Dr. Whoever. Now, you need to take those 4 keys, write them down, cogitate, look at them, read them every day. Every day. Why? Because that's your best and brightest. That's what your best and brightest poured into me. And all I am is a messenger. All I did is sit in the corner, sit at the desk, had my little tape recorder and my little notes, and I took notes with both hands, and here's the result of their wisdom.
Listen, thank you, Dr. Kimbrough. Thank you so much for that. First of all, let's not overlook the fact that he referenced Too Short. That's one thing, right? And then to Bishop, okay? So the span in which he is talking, It is across the board. I want to ask you, we saw someone saying that you were their mentor, which is great. And I think that was Dr. Will Moreland, as a matter of fact. I had the pleasure
it was,
of
yep,
too.
Dr. Will.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I want to know, who have you looked up to all these years? I know those interviews and we've talked behind the scenes, but name some people that inspired you. And then I want to get into, we talk about failure. What were some of the obstacles or challenges that you overcame? Because, you know, you make things seem so simple, and some people do, but the reality of it is it's not. And that's why this particular article, it talks about wealth not being cash, but courage. Because when we talk, that's what you said, the difference is having the courage to continue on in spite of absolutely everything else. So what are some of the obstacles you overcame? And then who are some of your mentors? I know we talked about some people, you were surprised by some of their responses, but let's share that with the audience as well, Dr. Kimbrough.
Well, of course, my mentors, hey, top of the list, my grandparents, well, I said my grandfather and my mother, my father. My mother was the most spiritual individual I knew. As I shared before, my mother was a nanny. My grandfather was a butler. My grandmother was a maid. They worked for a wealthy white family in North Carolina. My mother was a nanny. She worked for a wealthy family in New Jersey. But my father was really well, both of them, they were a stickler on education. And the reason why the arrow, my due north, points to them. My father was a stickler on education, and me and my brother couldn't go out and play until my father came home and checked our homework. And when you're growing up in New Jersey, you know, in the winter and the late fall, well, it gets dark and you can't go out anyway. Couldn't watch TV on school nights, except for one exception. And what was that one exception that my father made? It was a TV show that he required me and my older brother to watch. It came on for only 30 minutes. One night a week, and that night was Monday before transferring to Tuesday, and the host was Mike Wallace. And what was the show? It was biography. My father made me and my brother watch biography, and after the show, he quizzed us. He asked us questions. And back then, Cier and Brian, there were no black examples. And then later on, they got Mohandas K. Gandhi. Later on, they got, Jackie Robinson and like, but I was watching examples of Eleanor Roosevelt, Charles Lindbergh, Alexander Graham Bell, and the like. And he quizzed us. My father said, okay, so what was so special about them? Okay, they had a dream. Did they hit the mark? Okay, so what do you learn? You have a dream? So what are you going to do about your dream? And blah, blah, blah. Every week, my father poured that into me and my brother. So that was the starting point for me to look beyond myself. And I remember we got Easter Sunday coming up, and I remember I was about 10 or 11 years old. And of course, on Easter Sunday, leading up to it, my dad would take me and my brother, get us a new suit and blah, blah, blah. And Easter Sunday was a family day. Well, this Easter Sunday, we lived in Jersey, so we took the bus over to New York, and we had dinner at a nice restaurant. And the United Nations was just built. And that was like in the early 60s. I was going on 11 years old. And we took a tour of the UN General Assembly floor. And they had the name tags by all the seats of the representatives from all the countries. And one by one, there were so many doctors this, doctor such and such from this country, doctor such and such from that country. And I said to my dad, I said, boy, that's just like a doctor's office. Look at all these doctors. Well, it rose up in his mind that he thought that these were medical doctors that I was thinking about in my mind. And he said, no, these aren't those type of doctors, son. These are doctors who possess a PhD, which is the highest degree that you can earn. And right there on the General Assembly floor, I told my father, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get me a PhD. And that was like 1960, 61. And I kept that. And even as an undergrad at the University of Oklahoma, my fraternity brothers, they called me the professor because I always had a book on the arm, always going to the library. I wanted to know and this, that, and everything. So those were the mentors in my life. Those were the individuals that poured in my life. And I told, I was on another podcast, my mother She was, like I said, the most spiritual. In the middle of the day, out of the blue, son, let's go in the living room. Let's have prayer. I mean, if you ever wanted to insult my mother, when she walks into church before she transitioned, hand her a hymnal. She said, I don't need a hymnal. I know every hymn in that book. I don't need a hymnal.
That was an insult, right? Don't need that.
But my father, he was the individual that used the L word, the love word. And I said, when I tell people, I said, man, I'm just like my old man. He would tell me and my brother, oh, I love you. Somebody would call my brother by his full name. Gregory Donald Kimbrough, I love you so much. I do the same thing. Now, you're asking for the high water marks in my life. Cier, baby girl, and excuse me for calling you baby girl. At one day, you were the baby in the family. So here we go. Man, you don't know. All the dreamers out there and entrepreneurs, whatever you are going through, and it's not what you're going through, it's what you're going to. Whatever you are going through, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. If you've been broke, I've been broker. If you've been broker, I've been brokest. But you gotta keep the prize alive. Now, I was upstairs watching a show and they were talking about relationships and what is a healthy marriage. Me and my wife were 9 months short of being married 50 years. Yes, we had love. Yes, we had fidelity. Yes, we had loyalty. But we had one other value that kept us together when we were getting our teeth knocked out. And what was it? We had rhythm. We had rhythm. What the hell is rhythm? When I was at the lowest point, what was my wife doing? She was pulling me up. Come on, we struggled too far. You can do this. Now's not the time to turn around. Come on, man. We are right on the cusp. We are right on the edge. You know, when I'm out front giving speeches and everything, where was my wife? She had my back. She was watching my back. So we had rhythm, in and out, left and right, up and down. Now, in terms of the high water marks, here I am in my house. Cier and Brian, I can't even begin to tell you the times electricity was cut off. I can't even give you times twice the water was cut off. And the second time they cut the water off in my house, they cut it off on a Friday. We went the entire week. And something I'm not proud of, but I did apologize to my daughters because my oldest daughter, she was like in the 10th grade, 11th grade, and she came home. And first thing she did, she took a glass and put it under the faucet. And I knew why the faucets weren't working. And she said, Dad, there's no water. And I said, I know, they're working on the pipes outside. I lied to her. I lied to her. I didn't have the courage to say, Dad screwed up. He's chasing this crazy ass dream. You see, I didn't persist over 7 years to get this book done. Hell no. I persevered. Did you hear me out there in Cyberland? You got a lot of folks out there that think that persistence and perseverance are the same. Hell to the no. Wow. There is a big difference between persistence and perseverance. Persistence is Michael Jordan shooting 300 jump shots a day because he knows that's going to lead him to another NBA title. Why? Because it's proven. Persistence is Beyonce practicing 8 hours a day dancing. Why? Because she knows that's going to lead, when they post it on YouTube, about 3 million followers, and she's going to be banked like Hank. Well, what is perseverance? Perseverance is doing what I did because I didn't even know if I would ever get a publisher. I didn't even know if anybody would ever read this book. And Dr. King said the definition of perseverance, taking the first step without seeing the staircase. So those are just one things. I had 2 cars repossessed, and when I had the first car repossessed, the sheriff's department came. They knocked on the door, and whoever answered the door, the citation, the summons went in that individual's hand. Well, my youngest daughter was 9 years old. That's right. My youngest daughter, economics with honors from Spelman, MBA, PhD. Woman right now, she was 9 years old, and they placed that summons, that citation in her hand while the tow truck was out in the front of my house towing up my Nissan. And she came to me and she said, Dad, and she didn't know they were, the sheriff's office, they were deputies. She thought, yeah, there's a police officer. He wanted you to have this. Now, is that the image I want that child to remember, that dad's car is getting towed up? Well, fast forward the videotape, and she's about to go to Spelman. It is her senior year in high school. This is the image I want her to have. Well, it's time for you. You'll be graduating soon, going to college. Here, go get car. Go get whatever car you want. That's the image. Now, I might pat myself on the back and say, oh, man, look at me. No, I didn't do that. We don't do that. That is the Lord working through you. You don't do anything on your own. No. I mean, all we are is the lamp. But the Lord of heavenly hosts is the electricity. And this, the Lord of heavenly hosts doesn't care if the lamp is wood, if the lamp is metal, if the lamp is black, if the lamp is white, if the lamp is pink, if the lamp is yellow. The only thing the Lord of heavenly hosts wants to know is the lamp plugged in. That's it. Well, baby girl, my lamp was plugged in. So by the time that occurred, Brian and Cier, I knew that I knew. So did it affect me? Yeah. But I knew it's just going to be a matter of time before there's going to be a number of brand new cars sitting out here. Why? Because I was armed with the keys of the kingdom by then. And that's what I want America to be. Yep.
Listen.
Absolutely.
Okay. Listen, I know, Brian, I have one more question that I want to transition to this.
Well, I want to sneak in a question too as well, Cier, if you don't mind.
No, go right ahead.
Because I would be remiss that right now, Dr. Kimbrough, you're on with, hundreds of speakers from across Black Speakers Network. And of course, this is Speakers Magazine. So I want to see if we could get your perspective on that, because you've spoken for some of the largest organizations on the planet: General Motors, Walt Disney, Citigroup, Exxon, Nike, Gallup. And so if you can you take us into the mindset of just your personal process of preparing for delivering your lectures and presentations to organizations of this size? And then also, how do you measure success on the outside when you're going into delivery? We have so many speakers right now across the gamut that some are just starting off their speaking career, and some are, probably, coming on your heels. So I would love to, if you could take us into the mindset when it comes to that.
Great question.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm happy that there are 50 million speakers out there, because they're pouring into individuals from a positive standpoint. We are talking about wealth. We're talking about individual success. We're talking about being personally fulfilled. And a rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, I am unbelievably grateful, and I am unbelievably humbled and honored that anybody would ever want to call me up and bring me in and hear what I have to say. I mean, it is a dream of every author to find an audience for his or her voice. And for someone to call me up and say, Dr. Kimbrough, go on here, man, I am honored. And I'm at a transitional point right now. I never got in this game to speak. W. Clement Stone told me when I was going through the dog days, and this guy was coaching me and he was pouring into me, and he could see, because I told him I was dead broke. I asked this man for $100,000 to finish this book. And he said to me, no, I'm not going to give you any money. Andrew Carnegie didn't give Napoleon Hill a dime. But you came into my office and you said you wanted to find the answers to those two questions. If that's true, young man, it is in this laboratory that you must find the answer. In other words, you ain't going out there speaking unless you got some scar tissue. What does the Bible say? By the stripes, you got the stripes. What does that mean, by the stripes? It means you can carry the weight. You can carry the weight. And that's the only reason why I'm up, because of the training that I had at Northwestern. Northwestern would throw me under the bus if I went out there and I don't know anything about evidence-based research. So I did not get in this business to speak. I was thrown into this environment. I remember there I am in Chicago, and I'm with W. Clement Stone, and I was always on the verge of crying, and he saw me. He said, young man, he said, when this book is finished, you're going to be in demand as a speaker. And I didn't blow him off. I didn't have it. I said to myself, yeah, you bet. Sure. You bet. Okay, sure. And he told me, he said, I'm not going to tell you what he said in terms of a dollar amount, but he said, Don't you dare open your mouth for anything less than, and I won't tell you the dollar figure, blah, blah, blah. But just the fact that he said that. And so when the book was finally finished, now you listen to me, and again, I said I did not get in this business to speak, and I can give you living proof. So the book was finally published, and it was out on the market. What did I do? I turned to my wife and I said, Pat, well, you know, I always wanted to teach and blah, blah, blah. And I started looking for teaching. And I said, well, if I don't teach, I can always be a consultant. And sure enough, I got an offer from the number 4 consulting, A.T. Kearney gave me an offer for the New York, New Jersey office, man. So I was going to be either a corporate hack or I was going to start teaching. And then sure enough, I spoke at the National Black MBA Association, and one of the individuals that really changed the trajectory on my life was Dr. Ed Irons. He was dean of the School of Business, and after I spoke at the National Black, he wanted to have lunch with me, and I said, sure, Dr. Irons, where you want to go? Just go ahead and here's my cell phone number. Call me, tell me the restaurant. And he said, no, I don't want to go to the restaurant. I want you to come to my office. He said, where? I said, at the School of Business. And so he made me an offer. And again, evidence-based research. So he offered me the job in the latter part, and my teaching career wasn't going to start till 1992. What in the world did I do for close to a year, knowing that I would be in a classroom in 1992? Now, I had the credentials. I mean, well, what do you do when you get a doctorate from Northwestern? Well, you can teach anywhere you want, that's for sure. But what did I do? Evidence-based research. I sought out the top, 10 or 12 who I thought, professors, teachers, and I contacted them. And I met the majority of them, and I wanted to find everything that made them, one of the top professors. I went out to California. I went out to Stanford University, and I had lunch with Dr. Charles Benin. For those of you who got an MBA from Stanford, you know who Dr. Charles Benin is. Dr. Charles Benin, Professor of the Year, Stanford B School. It was in his entrepreneurship class that Phil Knight of Nike Shoes got the idea, wrote a business plan that eventually became Nike. And I said to him, Dr. Benin, I said, did you know that your student, Phil Knight, was going to hit the mother lode and blah, blah, blah? And he said, yeah, Phil was always a good student. And I know that he had high aspirations, but I wasn't too concerned about that. I was just going to stay true to my mission. And I said, what is your mission as a professor? Listen to me. Listen to me out there. He said, my mission is to enable the dreams of my students. I wrote that down. Check the box. Okay. I went up to New York. Walter Turnbull, founder of the Harlem Boys Choir, music teacher, and they had just finished the soundtrack for the movie Glory. And there I am with him. And I said, Dr. Turnbull, I'm going to ask you a question that you very rarely ask. He said, sure, what is it? I said, what is wealth? Give me your definition of wealth. And what did Walter Turnbull tell me? He said, wealth is hearing the voices of my boys. And then from there, I went on and 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 on. And what is the result? Okay, so I've been at Clark Atlanta, 21, 22 years? 3 times Professor of the Year. Now, that's not, look at that, blah, 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 blah. But again, to answer your question about speakers, so number one, the more, the merrier. If I can help in any way, you can contact me, you can email me, we can talk one-on-one. So the book was finished, and I didn't know anything about speaking. That book had been out for less than a week, and I got my first speaking engagement. First speaking engagement was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was Legs Mason, the wealth management company, all white, all Republican, all millionaires. They looked at the cover of the book, and they only saw 2 words, grow rich. And they said, bring him in. Did you hear that, Black America? That's true nobility. What the hell is true nobility? You can learn from anybody. You can learn from anybody. Later on that week, I get a phone call from who? Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was the head football coach at Notre Dame. Legend. He not only bought the book, but he read the book in less than a week and called me up. He said, you need to come and speak to my team. And I remember, and there I was in the locker room. They had just won the national championship prior to, and there I was in the locker room, and Lou Holtz introduced me, and he told the assistant coaches, if we have any players in here right now who is missing what Dr. Kimbrough has to say, you will not play Saturday against Indiana. I said, whoa, coach, put me under a lot of pressure, my brother. Answer your question. We have 50 million speakers out there speaking on a number of topics, a number of issues, but it only comes down to two factors. Number one, there's a speaker who has something to say, and then there's a speaker who has to say something. You never want to fit into the category of has to say something. If they want to hear what I have to say, come on in and hear what I have to say. So if I can help in any way, man, contact me. I'll just give you my knowledge for whatever it's worth.
Wow. Listen, I don't think people really knew what they were signing into this morning on this beautiful Saturday, April 9th. I don't think they were ready, and sometimes that's good. That is absolutely good. Dr. Kimbrough, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too.
we want to definitely want to make sure we respect your time. I know we have about 10 minutes left, so what we would love to do is share with everyone the cover of Speakers Magazine, just so people can get a visual of what they're looking out for. It is available now, and then we want to show them the cover, and we typically do like a quick walkthrough so we could see some of the other speakers that are featured there. So I'll try to bring that up now, and we'll ask you. We'll have some dialogue as we move forward. But this has been absolutely incredible. I know you can't see all the comments, but once you, Dr. Kimbrough, once you see the replay, I think you'll get a full grasp of how much of an impact you're making to the folks that are watching us live right now, and certainly the folks that are going to be watching the replay. So, Cier, are you able to see this? I know I can't see it because I'm on.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect. All right, so look at this cover. Absolutely incredible. Think, Speak, and Grow Rich. And Dr. Kimbrough, is this a recent picture? It looks like we got this is the money shot right here.
Well, what had happened? That is an older picture, and let me tell you. For those who don't know me intimately, you know that for more than 35 years, I've been a runner. I've run marathons, half marathons, 10Ks, and the like, okay? That picture was taken before I had my knees replaced. So I was a little heavier than right now. You can see me now. I had both of my knees replaced. And though I'm not running, I could run if I want, but my orthopedic surgeon said, if you run, go back to your running. And here's the thing, Cier and Brian, I was a serious runner. I mean, I'd come home from class and I would put in an 8 or 9 miler. On the weekends, I might run a 20 miler. So I was serious.
So did you run the Peachtree road race? Did you run that in the Peachtree each year?
Well, so what I was going to say now, yeah, I'm gonna upgrade a lot of stuff, but right now I'm a little bit lighter because I get my daily walking in.
Very good.
That is a good picture, and the reason why I like it because my students always know when class has officially started. Why? I take my cufflinks off and roll my sleeves up.
Oh, it's time to work. That's what he's saying. It's time to work.
To dive into this case.
Well, for those that are watching for the first time, this is Speakers Magazine. Again, this is the April issue. It is out now, so you can head over to speakermagazine.net and actually read the online issue. And it is absolutely incredible. Taking a look inside, we always have a featurette from Pam and her Ready, Set, Go, the Speak program, as well as just getting into the table of contents. And so Dr. Kimbrough, every month, Speakers Magazine, Pam, her team, Cier, Mark, do an incredible job of highlighting the voices of rising Black speakers from multiple different industries, areas of expertise. Pam always does an incredible summary. You can see yourself featured here right on the inside cover. And we also have the Speakers Magazine podcast, which when you're looking at the live issue, you can actually play a little clip of that inside. So this is an interactive issue that is available to watch right now. So definitely looking forward to continuing to share this. I know we have some printed copies going out as well, but I do want to just make sure that we have a chance to spotlight some of the speakers that are highlighted this month. Individuals like Dr. Vicki Johnson here. And Cier, if there's anything I want to add in, I know we have a little less time than normal, but certainly feel free to jump in. But these individuals, I know, and Cier through the Ready, Set, Go program, I know how rigorous and how great of a job Pam does in making sure that each speaker has the photos, has the credentials, has the market-ready tools to make sure that they're able to use this as an effective visibility tool out in the market. And so that's what we're seeing here with Dr. Vicki Johnson. Now, Roz Miller Choice is actually a BSN member as well. Dr. Kimbrough, she hosts an incredible program called The Expert Maker. So it's kind of like a live reality show, not live, but it's a reality show where she works specifically with experts and thought leaders to make sure that they are able to leverage tools to be able to highlight and accelerate their expertise. And so Expert Maker TV is if you ever seen a show like The Prophet on CS, I think MSNBC, very similar, but she does a great job with that. And Cier, I might need to get you to help me with this young lady's name, Miss Brown. Is that Liani?
Yeah, I can't see that much. It looks like
I think it's Liani, but it says here, award-winning executive thought leader on workforce development, equity, and inclusion, and that is actually, we are getting the most requests right now. You probably imagine. I'm sure you're seeing this on your side as well, Dr. Kimbrough, the organizations that are struggling with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I'm glad that we have speakers there that are, continuously championing healthy workplace best practices as it relates to that. And then, of course, we have the cover story, which again, written by the one and only Cier Black. So I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about this. But again, just these power shots, and I love the cover story, the theme of wealth is not about cash, it's about courage.
Yeah. Well, we covered quite a bit today, and I'm so glad that Dr. Kimbrough was able to take it beyond this story, because this story is just so minute to what is really covered. But I get so much from speaking with these speakers. And the thing that really stood out was about the courage, just like he said, you're not going through something, you're going to something, and it's overcoming those obstacles. And I wanted him to talk about, this particular project, his book, Think and Grow Rich, because that's when he talked about perseverance. Is even when he got that project, he had to persevere to get it done. He didn't even have the funding to go visit with the people. He had to borrow that. And I think that's important for people to know, that there are going to be failures. You're expected to fail, but continuing on, having the courage to continue on in spite of, is that perseverance. It was a pleasure, Dr. Kimbrough, to sit down one-on-one with you. I look forward to working with you on other projects, but this is just a snippet of all the knowledge. And we talked about the evidence base. When you talk about being a speaker, that's one of the reasons that makes him stand out. The research that he does. That's why that knowledge is there. He's continuing to learn every day and talk to people. So, we could go on and on, but he covered quite a bit this morning or today, and we appreciate that. But there's so much more. Be sure to follow him on his website. Be sure to pick up his books and find out where he's speaking soon, and just listen in, continue to listen in.
Yeah, I thought this was an incredible article, but like you said, just having an opportunity to hear from you this morning, Dr. Kimbrough. I mean, that's why we do this, because there's no way we could have fit that into 500 words, and certainly, when you read these books like The Wealth Choice, you get a true sense of just the thought leadership that's there. But I want to, go in, but certainly head on over to speakersmagazine.net, read the full issue. You'll get an opportunity to see the other speakers that are featured here. Always doing an amazing job of highlighting emerging thought leaders. The Branding Accelerator program is absolutely incredible. We've had several BSN members that have gone through that extremely successfully with properly positioning yourself out in the marketplace. And as always, looking forward to next month, Danielle Jerby, featured here on back cover, is actually a BSN member as well. Her Move to Millions event is coming up May 25th to 27th. So you can read more about that and learn more at movetomillions.com. But that's pretty much what we have. That's a show, Dr. Kimbrough. And again, you dropped so many nuggets of wisdom. I am obviously going to have to go back and listen to this multiple times. And I was taking notes and serving as producer and doing all the stuff backstage. But this has just been incredible. So thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. And just congratulations on 30 years at Clark Atlanta. Like, you have just been a pillar, and not just academia, but your research, your work, the way your contributions. This is a global impact that will be felt for generations. So thank you. Do you have any last words that you want to share before we close out?
Dr. Kimbrough, tell me about your upcoming book. What's next for you? What's coming out?
Well, there are two projects on the horizon. Number one, still working on a movie of Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. You've got producers and directors out in Hollywood, and they're pursuing some A-list names to be a part of it. And then number two, I am working literally right now on the revised edition of Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. My publisher, Random House, they sort of said, well, we don't want an anniversary edition. We want a revised edition, which means new names, new interviews, new stories, new profiles to tell. And I'll be finished with that this year, and that will be released as a hardback, brand new release and the like. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then there are future projects that me and Cier will talk about on the horizon. But thank you very much, Speakers Magazine, Brian and Cier. God bless you for what you're doing. Again, humbled, honored, keep making a difference.
Absolutely. Well, that is it. Thank you, Black Speakers Network, and thank you, everyone listening. Cier, always a pleasure. And until next time, as we say in BSN, Dr. Kimbrough, keep speaking up. Your audience awaits, and we will see y'all on stage. Have a great day.